Hello, Revere, and welcome to another great show. Today we have another great guest. He's head of the Revere Republican City Committee. He's the chairman of the Revere Republican City Committee. His name is Glenn LaCedra, and welcome to the show, Glenn.
Thank you, Morris, for inviting me. Thank you very
Now,
much.
Glenn, you've been the chairman several years.
Yes, sir. Several years.
Right, before we go into the questions, how do you find being the chairman of the Republican Committee?
It's very interesting, but you have to understand, Morris, the thing I enjoy about it the most is when I dispel all the rumors about the Republican Party. See, people don't realize that the reason I became a Republican was an interview that Dr. Martin Luther King did a long time ago. He was a registered Republican, which very few people know. And he outlined why he was never a Democrat. And I just agreed with him wholeheartedly because the former party of slavery was the Democratic Party.
Right.
The party of segregation was the Democratic Party.
Right.
The Democratic Party was in there when a lot of Jews tried to flee Nazi Germany and sent them back to Germany, and they ended up being killed. So there's a lot of key points that Dr. Martin Luther King had stated. That's why I became a Republican. It had nothing to do with, well, I mean, they're conservative, they want a smaller government. Some of the Republican leaders make sense. And I'm glad I'm a Republican because I just love President Trump. Can't hold it against me, but I just love him.
I know, I could see that on Facebook, and I join you. By the way, who's the vice chairman of your party?
The vice chairman is you, Morris.
I knew I forgot.
Yeah, no. No, you sit there, we let you get up and talk about veteran affairs.
Okay, thank you. Before we start, really get into this deep, I usually ask that everyone, and so I'll ask you the same questions. Just tell us a little about your background and your education, but elaborate on it.
Oh, elaborate. Okay. Well, I'm a lifelong Revere resident. Lived here since 1972.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that when you were born?
No. 1961, August 4th, 1961.
Okay.
I was born the same day as former President Barack Obama.
Oh.
Exactly. I was hoping they were going to make it a holiday because then I could say it was my holiday.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, okay. Moved here in 1972 with my mother and father and my siblings. I have a brother, Greg, who's run for office a few times, my sister Gail and my sister Gina. Graduated Revere High School, the class of 1979. And the funny thing was I ranked 118, and I live at 118 Pearl Ave, so it was pretty fun.
Pretty lucky. I mean, pretty coincidental is what I mean.
Went to Northeastern University, and at Northeastern University I also joined the ROTC program, the Reserve Officers Training Corps, and graduated from Northeastern University in 1986.
What did you major in, if I may ask?
I majored in political science and minored in sociology.
I could see that when I see you on Facebook.
Yeah. Another thing is, what's important to me is really U.S. history. I don't think they teach enough of it.
That's true. Matter of fact, before you even came on, I was speaking to a few of them. We used to take a course called civics, which was history and everything. They don't teach that in a lot of schools anymore.
No. And I always believe if you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going.
Right.
And the kids today, the millennials, they have no idea about a lot of things that happened in history. If we had 4 years of mandatory U.S. history, they would know a lot more about their country, and they wouldn't be trying to pull down George Washington's statue. If anything, they put flowers at his feet.
That's ridiculous,
I
but
know.
I'm going to let you talk if you want to talk. I don't want to get involved in that. Before we start going in, I had some people come up here, and we spoke about public schools, charter schools, and private schools. Someone brought up residential requirements. Could you elaborate on that for the people that don't know exactly what that means?
In Revere, there's supposed to be a residential requirement. In other words, if your family lives in Revere, your child goes to a Revere school, which is important. That's what we put into the tax base for our city. What happens here is our current school committee and current local government does not enforce the residency requirement. So we have anywhere between 100 and 200 students in our schools that don't live in the city of Revere.
Well, excuse me, don't they see when the child registers, when he puts his address down, that it says Revere, Mass, or if it says Everett, they don't care?
Well, it's the same thing as when you register to vote. Take a look. They don't ask you for an ID. I can go in there and say, your address, give me a ballot for Morris Morris, I'm Morris Morris. The only thing that's a dead giveaway is your age on my age. But otherwise, basically, they don't ask you for an ID. So you put basically, you can put anything you want or put it on someone else's address. And what happens is, let's say you knew 118 Pearl Ave, you know the landlord there. Oh, basically, can I use your address so that my kid can go to school? Of course, do it. If you had somebody that was looking up these different children and making sure they were residents, it would bring down our tax base. What's happening is, it's a pet peeve of mine that I understand children have to be educated, not against anything like that, but Revere students, Revere children should go to Revere schools. That's what everybody that owns a home, a condo, that pays property taxes pays for, these children. It's $13,500 a year for each student. So you figure 100, the state's paying half of it, and the city's paying for half of it. You say, state and city. No, we're paying for it, the taxpayers. I mean, where does the federal government get their money? They don't magically make it off of a tree. Sometimes we think they do, you know what I mean, because we're so much in debt. But that's very important that they enforce the residency requirement. It's only the law. I mean, we are a nation of laws. We should, you know, basically follow them.
Here's another question that was not on here, but I'm going to, oh yes, it is on here. You are way ahead of me. I got to say, you phrased it a little better than I would have. You corrected my English.
Right.
Thank you. No, I was very poor in English. What is your view and feelings about sanctuary cities? And I don't feel too happy with them, but I mean, they have their good points, but they also have a lot of bad points.
A lot of bad points. For one thing, a sanctuary city is an illegal city. What you're doing is you're protecting criminals. Now,
right.
I can understand, I feel for people that want to come to this country, but you do it the right way. You follow the laws. We're a nation of laws.
Your parents did. My parents.
My grandfather did.
Right.
My grandfather was held.
My father did. My mother did.
He was held in a detention center for a while because...
So was mine in Ellis Island.
Yeah. So when it comes down to it, a sanctuary city, if you look at the statistics on sanctuary cities, you'll find that the crime rate is much higher. They protect criminals. Well,
Right.
if you want to protect criminals, then protect American criminals. At least they're Americans. When you come here illegally, what you're doing is you're really thumbing your nose to our laws. It's an invitation to come here by the American people.
Can I say something
Yes.
to you? And correct me if I'm wrong, Glenn.
Oh.
The illegals or the sanctuary of the criminals, they don't pay taxes, number one. That means there's not enough money to hire more police. So if a town has, let's say, 100 police, and I'm bringing in 2, 3 more, 4 more hundred criminals, but no police to take care of them, that puts the pressure on the police that are there now.
It's exactly. And this is the cost these illegals are costing us. $118 billion goes to illegals and all the programs we give to them and help them out. We have to upgrade our nuclear weapons. I mean, they're in disarray. We have to upgrade them, especially with that nut in North Korea.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what's happening is it costs $26 billion. The Democrats now in Congress are talking about they're fighting Trump because Trump wants to put some of that money that's going towards illegal aliens that's costing us money. And it's not free. They don't come here for free. Some of them come here, they can't take care of themselves. I understand. They get on food stamps. They get all kinds of different programs and money available to them.
But that takes it away from the ones that
That's
are
right.
entitled to it.
Yes.
And the taxpayers, that's what I mean.
And I'll tell you the truth, that the another pet peeve of mine is during election year, they always pander to the elderly, the veterans, and the disabled. And then the ones they forget first and foremost on a non-election year is the elderly, the disabled, and the veterans. Because they have no money to take care of them. Listen, I understand there's problems all over the world. But if you did it the right way, you come here legally, then you're entitled. I have no problem with that. When you come here illegally, that tells me that you have no regard for the country, its laws, and its people.
Well, my parents came here and your grandparents came here. They were sponsored. That means that they had someone who would take care of them.
That's right.
Why can't they do the same thing now? Now they just let them in like an open door policy.
Well, that's what the current president wants to do. He wants a merit-based system. If you do that, now you're getting the best. You're not getting people that are going to come here and say, I don't have 2 cents to my name.
I'd like to see doctors, engineers, lawyers,
Yes.
physicists, the brains of the world come here.
Yeah, we can utilize them.
Right.
You know, they'll help our people. Listen, I look at it this way, Morris. I always felt this way. I might turn off people. America first and foremost.
Right.
You
I'm with
take
you.
care of your own people because it's important. Because no one's going to take care of me. If I go to Mexico and I say, listen, I'm here illegally, can I get benefits? They put me in jail.
I got a couple of questions, which I'll get to you later. You are running for school committee, which we know, and so are a lot of others. But
Yes.
what made you decide to run for it?
It was my mother. My mother sat there one time. She says, you know so much about history. I've watched these meetings. They don't care about history. They care about everything else but history. Give that conservative viewpoint. Tell the people the way it is. Tell them if you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going. That's very important. Don't repeat the past mistakes of history, because it seems like the way it looks, and if you look at what's happening today, is they're following the book of a very sinister man by the name of Joseph Goebbels. He was the propaganda minister for the Nazis, and he said it. He told them the playbook that the Democrats...
Put a lie long enough and people will believe
People will
it.
believe it. Just keep saying it, no matter how outlandish it is. The more times you say it, the more people believe it.
Right.
And it's sad. But I'll tell you the truth, we're not learning from history. If more people knew history, you know what they'd say? I know where that comes from. And they would know that basically some people that were heroes are villainized. I mean, because at that time they had owned servants or slaves.
You know, someone said one time, if you don't learn history from the past, you're bound to repeat it in the future.
Yes, definitely.
Right.
Definitely. And I always believe this, is I've looked at the current school committee, and I believe politicians are like diapers, and they have to be changed for the same exact reasons every now and then. And
I know what you mean. Okay. I think you got it out of here, too. Okay. Next question. Can you, I got to learn how to read my own handwriting.
that's okay.
Can you tell us that the one particular honor you have over all the other candidates in this year's city election?
Yes, sir, I can. I'm a veteran. I'm the only veteran on the ballot, and I've been questioned into it. I had to show all my paperwork. I look at it this way. I'm so proud of it because I never got drafted. I volunteered, and I volunteered because at an early age, my father and mother instilled in me, and even my grandfather and grandmother, that you owe this country. They don't owe me. And I said, you know something? I'll give a little back. I wish I'd given more back, but I fell in love with a girl, and I kind of left the Army. But I'll be honest, I did it, and I was honorably discharged after 6 years. So I enjoyed it, and I often think about it. I buy T-shirts. If you see me running the Massachusetts Water Resource Authority area, you'll see me with an Army shirt on all the time. You know, and then when people ask me what, 187th Infantry Division. And I'm proud of it. I got it in the back of my car. But there's more pride in it now, and I see with this president, more people are focusing on veterans, and they should. Because less than, I think, 4% of people out there have worn the uniform. Like you, and I thank you for your service.
And I thank you for yours.
Thank you. I mean, I look at it this way. I seen how they treated the Vietnam veterans when they
horrible,
came. It
horrible.
was deplorable, deplorable. You can't do that to a man. It's wrong. And when someone's out there serving this country and they put the uniform on and put their life on the line, you got to ask them why. They went above and beyond.
You know, during the Vietnam War, there was an officer there by the name of Calley.
Yes, Lieutenant Calley.
Yeah.
Miley, I think the name of the town was.
He was the
Millet.
one that caused a lot of problems for the Vietnam veterans when he went into a village and killed the mothers, the fathers, and the thing. But let me put it to you this way. War is war, and you can't fight war limitedly. In other words, I can't tell you you can't shoot if there's a child or a woman or a grandmother. If the fire is coming from that place at you, you got two choices. Either you get killed or you kill them.
That's right.
And what the Patton always used to say, it's better that SOB die for his country than you die for yours.
That's right. And that's what I like about this president. He gave the first pay raise to our military in over 14 years. And he told them, he changed the rule. The rule used to be under the former president, wait until they shoot at you before you could shoot back.
That's stupid.
That's ridiculous. If someone comes at you in a threatening manner, then shoot them.
Right.
And destroy. They're all the enemy as far as I'm concerned.
You know, war is not a game, but I call it a deadly game.
It's a matter of life and death.
Exactly.
You'll be here today, and you'll be gone tomorrow.
Right. That's why the Afghan war, I think, is dragging out 13 or 14 years. and I watch it on TV, and it's house to house fighting. You know what I mean?
Yes,
It's-
urban assault, yeah.
Exactly. And that was the same way during the Second World War in Stalingrad when they had to fight house to house. The Russians and the Germans, they fired with tanks at each other's houses when they saw where the fire was
Yeah, it's
coming from.
brutal.
They didn't care who was in there. You shoot me from there, that place goes.
War is brutal, and
I wish there were never any wars.
I'm not a warmonger, but I do believe that
Neither am I.
the men and women that do serve, they have to be held to a high regard. Them and the elderly, because they put their time in, and they deserve a little something more.
I hate to see people die. I don't care whether it's kids, women, children, but like you say, war, it's a deadly game.
Well, that's the thing. That's another thing that bothers me. Morris, they're having demonstrations on President Trump because he dealt with someone that was Russian, or his wife didn't wear the right high heels when she went down to see the disaster area. Morris, we don't have anybody demonstrating against those two wars. We have two wars going on. Men and women are dying. Iraq and Afghanistan.
Right.
And when I say a special prayer when they put their names up there sometimes. These are boys that they're giving everything they got and everything they're ever going to have to this country.
You gave me this question to ask you, so
Yes.
I will, and I wrote it down. I want to make sure I wrote it down correctly. What is your opinion about former police chief Caffarelli and his plight with the city? But before you go there, I want to say to Chief Caffarelli, who's a former Marine, I think he did a good job and a great job, and he was a gentleman's gentleman.
Yes.
So you can take it from there.
It's an absolute disgrace what they did to that man. He's a declarated
Marine
Marine.
hero.
He caught one of the Tsarnaev brothers. He was a fantastic chief,
Right.
honest and full of integrity. What they did to them, the voters of Revere should hold everybody that did him like that accountable. And I ask all my veterans out there, what they did to that man, find out who was behind it and make them pay for it. There should be accountability. What they did to that man's wrong. I heard he's not even on the Revere police force. They wouldn't even give him his former position of lieutenant. Oh, come on, this man earned it. He earned it. I mean, you don't just throw him off. And he has, I guess, a sick child, and they took him off Cobra, which is their insurance. It's wrong what they did to him. It seems like it's a hit job, and it's a hit job because he basically didn't put himself into the political spectrum where he went one way when he should have went another. And I think they're picking on him because basically he's a veteran. A lot of people, you have to understand, in this city, there's a lot of people that actually respect us, and there's some that they despise us.
That's true. Right. So to Police Chief Caffarelli, thank you for your service twice. Once as an officer of the
yes.
law, and once as a military.
God bless him and his family, and I hope and I pray that we can rectify him and get him his job back, at least on the Revere Police, because he should at least be a lieutenant or a captain, but you just don't toss him. It was truly despicable. And that's where I thank Dan Rizzo, that's running for city council, councilor at large,
Right,
for getting up, and I told Dan, that was fantastic what you did. That was fantastic. He was a good man. Yes, he is a good man. He was in that the movie, what, Patriots Day?
Yeah.
They had him portrayed, Chief Caffarelli. I mean, it's just, I don't know, sometimes it was just disgraceful what they did to him.
An unsung hero. Well, let's
Yes,
put
he
it-
is an unsung hero.
You know, I got to learn how to write English. You got to forgive me. I scribbled these notes down.
That's all right.
That's why I'll never make CBS, I'll tell you that.
Well, you might make MSNBC.
No. Okay. What directions do you see this great city, and I added the word great, City of Revere, going, and why?
It is a great city.
It is.
But you have to understand this is a pivotal election year. Why? Because you'll see that some of the people that are conservative or really want to strengthen the city are being attacked. They get attacked. Now, there's a questionnaire going around that's pigeonholing different candidates. I put no response on it. But it seems like it's coming from the city of Somerville, and we know that mayor there, he has a sanctuary city. Slowly but surely, if you vote for the wrong candidates this year, you might vote for how would you put it, a wolf in sheep's clothing, so to speak. Because there is a small element in this city that wants to turn it into a sanctuary city and welcome refugees in. And because Chelsea is a sanctuary city, with
I
our
didn't-
former mayor, Tommy Ambrosino, it is a sanctuary city. Now, Revere has people that they get mad at different things and maybe they flee or they move away. we have to keep these good people here. There's been generations and generations. I mean, you have families that have been here for a long time. And you have to watch what you vote for. This is not a fun and games type election. You ask your candidates, have them debate each other, and have them committed that they're not for a sanctuary city. There are some that I know, I'm not going to name them, but I'll tell you there are some that are adamantly opposed to it, and they're good men. And I'll tell you the truth, the voters, don't take it lightly, this election. Even on the school committee, don't take it lightly. You have a lot of left wing, I call them snowflakes. And they're coming across as, we want to make Revere great. Well, a sanctuary city won't make Revere great. What it'll do is turn us into a third world, if you think about it. So I see the direction right now with the current administration, after what they did to Chief Caffarelli, I can't say it's in a good direction. I look at it as in a turmoil. I think under the direction of when Dan Rizzo was mayor, it was going in great places. And I've spoken to him, and he's a fantastic man, a good man.
Question for you now.
Yes.
I've asked people this question. I like to see a lot of cameras be put up on certain places where cars go through red lights. Some people say with a fringe upon the privacy of people. Do you have any opinion on that?
No, because we're a nation of laws. If someone goes through a red light and ends up killing somebody, or a stop sign, that's another one that really irritates me. I was at the stop sign one time, this was on Donley Square in Beachmont where I live, and as I come out, someone come flying across, and I said, oh boy, another few seconds, I would have been a statistic.
Furlong Drive where Stop and Shop is, I had the green light across the street, I went out, that's where I got clobbered. The car went right through the red light going to Beachmont, 60 miles an hour, totaled my car and totaled me practically for the rest of my life.
Oh,
so
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, because now a camera is worth 1,000 pictures.
Yes.
He tried to flee, the gentleman. I don't even know who it is to this day. I really don't. The state police do, but I don't. But he tried to flee from what I understand. But his car conked out on him and he got stuck on the corner in the North Shore because his car was badly damaged too. So they caught him.
No, I'm all for that. I look at it this way. The rules of the road, it's not a right but a privilege to drive on the roads.
Right.
And you have to follow the rules. And because it keeps everybody safe. I'm trusting that the guy on the other side is going to go by that red light so he won't kill me. And he's trusting me the same way. It's basically been a tradition. It's the way it's done. And I'm sorry, but if you want to go through a red light, you cause accidents like they did with you.
Or death.
Yeah, death.
Yeah, that's sad. Let's talk about your mother now. She passed away.
Yeah, my
She's
mother.
buried in Bourne.
She's buried in the National Cemetery in Bourne.
Because your father is a veteran. Tell us a little about your dad, his war experience. I love to hear these stories.
My dad was in the 82nd Airborne. He was a
World War
paratrooper.
II?
No, he was between the Korean War and the Vietnam War. And if he re-upped, he would have went into the Vietnam War. But he wanted to get home to my mother.
The 82nd Airborne?
The 82nd Airborne.
That was very well popular during World War II.
Yes. And that's why his knees, one knee got blown out. He actually had to get it all reconstructed, and the other knee bothers him. So if you see my father, he basically, he walks with kind of a limp sometimes.
I know. I was going to ask you about that limp.
But he earned it, and like I told him, I says, Dad, I want mother down there, my mother, because you'll both be together, because I have a plot down there, and I'll be interned there when my time comes. So he said, well, and my siblings go, that's unfair. And, you know, I mean, you can get to go down there. I said, it's not me. I'm taking advantage of a benefit that my father did. But you should see how beautiful it is down there. The National Cemetery in Bourne.
I've been there.
It's beautiful. It's like a national park. It's beautiful. It's well taken care of. And I'll tell you, my mother was a general in my life as far as I'm concerned. She raised 4 children, 8 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. I'll tell you the truth, she was a saint. And if anybody deserves the National Cemetery more than my father and myself, it was my mother.
You've got a brother, I believe his name is Greg.
Greg ran for Councilor of Ward 1 twice.
Oh, he did?
Yes, he did.
And did he succeed in any of them?
No, he came close. In the first election against Richie Penta, he came
yeah.
within 116 votes. But you know what it is? I'll be honest with you. When it comes to political campaigns, the mother's milk of politics is money. And if you don't have enough money, you can't get your message across. So you try to get free advertisement, free this. You try to go house to house, door to door. You try to meet as many people as you can. And I have to apologize to a lot of people because this last month, while I went every day to see my mother and she was slowly dying, I didn't have a chance to go out house to house, door to door. But I wanted to be with her. She was there during my birth, and I wanted to be there during her death. I didn't want to see her die, but basically I wanted to be with her.
I know I was at the wake, and I mean not at the wake, at the wake.
Well, I will tell you a story that people are going to think I'm nuts, but
No.
what happened is my mother was gurgling. Her lungs were filling up with fluid, and she was about to die on the 23rd. And I prayed for a miracle. And devoted enough where I can't say I'm a saint, but I can say that I'm devoted enough where I believe in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I prayed for a miracle. Well, when we were out in the hallway, my father and I, she passed on. Her breathing stopped, her heart stopped. The nurse went over and said, she's gone. My father ran over to her, this is 30 seconds after, ran over to her and shook her and says, Rose, Rose, please come back to me. It was sad. And I was at the edge of the bed. She was already gone, Morris. She opened her eyes and said bye to him. That was the last thing she said. And I was floored. And I told my brother, I said, that's a miracle. And when I talked to George Rotundro, who's a nurse, he said, I never heard of that in my life. I said, George, I'm telling you, 8 people witnessed it. He says, that had to be a miracle. What'd you do? I said, I went to the Arch Street Church, and I had my confession, and I told the priest, and he goes, oh my God, you witnessed a miracle. But my mother was a woman of faith, you know, and she was a good person. I mean, everybody has their faults, but you know something? When I seen that, I'll tell you the truth, I couldn't sleep all night that night, because I knew that the eyes of God were on us all. I'm like, whoa, you know. Now I
Right.
gotta-
The eyes of God are on you now, because I have to say God bless you
No, thank
for
you.
coming on here.
No, thank you,
We
Morris.
have
I appreciate
a few
it.
minutes. It was an honor and a pleasure. God
It's an
bless
honor
you.
to come on here.
Thank you very much. And I would like to say to the people of Revere, thank you for listening. God bless you all out there. And especially God bless our military wherever they are. But most of all, God bless our great country, the United States of America. And
Hallelujah.
one more time, Clint, God bless you and good luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Morris. Thank you.